welcome to the Collingwood Rant. I'm Sly.
And it's 3 in a row, Spook.
How many times have you been able to say that?
Just then.
Spook.
Yes.
We smashed the might of Hawthorn.
Did we?
Just totally embarrassed them.
But you predicted we'd lose that game.
I predicted that the last 3 weeks, and look what's happened.
I said in last week's rant that I wouldn't be surprised to see us win by 4 points.
Really? Is that what you said?
Did you go back and look at the footage?
You can't watch us. So what do you think of the game? So, beat Fremantle, that was a surprise win. Beat Carlton, that was a surprise win. Typically in Collingwood fashion, you'd think, oh, we're going to fall over at some point and embarrass ourselves. For half of the game, we smashed them but didn't convert on the scoreboard. Does that sound unusual?
No, it sounds par for the course, really.
Inaccurate. Third quarter, the rain came. Game totally changed. We played, or tried to play with too much finesse. Hawthorn just simplified it. Giant Newcomb came into it. They started running all over the top of us. It looked like, as one pundit predicted, we'll fuck this up.
Who was that ray of sunshine?
I don't know. And last quarter, we dug deep. Probably still should have won by about 4 goals, but ultimately, we overhauled them, got the lead back.
We overhawked them.
Well, it's a good one.
No, it's not.
Several times this year, we've given up 5-goal leads.
Is that the hallmark of a developing side, though?
No.
You don't think so?
I don't think we're that developing with that bottom end or back end.
I think if we'd kicked accurately in that first quarter, we would have been, probably 7 goals up, conservatively. That could have been enough to put them to the sword. I think the issue was, as you said, was the minute the rain came, for a side that's done so well playing in those conditions recently, we completely threw all that out the window and just tried to be, as you said, play with finesse or a little bit too cute, whereas the Hawks just reverted to that game style that worked for us. Although it was just bizarrely, their skill level seemed to go up as soon as it got wet, which was bizarre. I thought that maybe the last couple of weeks was inevitably going to come home to roost, that they were going to tire. I was starting to think that a little bit in the second quarter. But I've got to say, the thing that I really find encouraging, and it really doesn't matter at the moment whether you win by 1 point or 100, though 100 is always more enjoyable, is that there's some resilience building there. They're not rolling over. They're fighting these things out to the end, and they're fighting...
Well, you know what? They're not rolling over because they wouldn't get a free.
Well, no. Well, Ginnivan tried to roll over. What happened there?
Yeah, no, I agree. The resilience there, several times looked like they are going to be overrun this week and last week. And we found another level of effort. And, we got in front. Like both times, it probably should have won by a few goals. We just, again, wasted opportunities. But it's really pleasing because I've kept waiting for this to implode. And they're showing a lot more, intestinal fortitude than I anticipated they had, given the structure of the side as it is at the moment. Let me throw some names at you. Still side bottom.
He was much improved this week.
Yep. Played more as forward, it seemed too.
There's a couple of times that he frustrates with his inability to handball over a metre.
That's a lot of them, though.
Yeah. Well, I pick at him in that instance, but I think overall he was good.
Yep. Will Hoskin-Elliott.
Who?
Will Hoskin-Elliott.
Isn't he the guy that H.G. Wells wrote a novel about?
War of the Worlds.
How many possessions did he get this week? I think he doubled his tally of last week. He ended up with 16 or something. I saw. But
did he end up with that many?
It was way higher than I thought because I only saw him on the screen for about 4 seconds. He's like an alien. It's just that brief flash. Then you see Scully and Mulder off to the side saying what just happened, and the ball just moves slightly to the left, and he's been there.
They should drop him simply as a message because this is just now getting embarrassing.
Yeah, no. The thing is, even though I think he ended up with a number of possessions, a lot of them were obviously cheap ones. But the fumbling that he was doing during the game, and obviously...
Like 5 of his possessions were sockers off the ground. 2 of them went on the full. 1 got smothered.
Yeah.
I mean, well done for actually just trying to move the ball. But he had one good game a few weeks ago. I don't even think that was that great. He started pretty good that game and then just sort of went back to his form. As you've kept saying... Play one of the kids. You're going to get as much out of Poulter as you would out of Hoskin-Elliott. Or, even just pump games in the Tyler Brown or whoever. So,
Well, you handballed, I think it was Mio checking the square,
yeah.
and he gold, so that's probably secured him another 6 years.
Ollie Henry.
I'm really loving this kid.
They dropped him. Then they brought him back as a medical sub. They brought him on like half-time. He's kicked 4 goals. And this week also, when the game's there to be won, he's the one who said, I'm going to fucking do it.
And again, with that hitting the pack with the marking.
Yeah.
On that mark, the final mark he took with the side-on thing, that was superb.
Well, the last 2 marks were great. He'd sort of, that one where he jumped in and it was basically a chest mark, elevated chest mark. But he had no right to win that contest. And then you had that one earlier where he basically outreached Cox and took the mark. So, yeah, well done. He of that draft haul from a couple of years ago when we got rid of everyone, he's the one guy who actually looks really special.
What, you no love for Bo this week?
He was really good, Bo McCreary. Match-saving tackle at the end remind me of the Daisy Thomas one in the prelim 211.
Against Hawthorn.
Yeah, where he grabbed Rioli.
Yeah.
He was really good. But consistently, Henry is showing something.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Whereas McCreary is great defensively, but offensively he's not getting enough of the ball.
I thought McCreary took a step up.
But he's done that and he's sort of dropped away for a couple of games. So he's got to keep hitting that level of getting, or having that sort of influence.
He's just a big body impactor though on
contests.
He's not afraid of shirking. And I think one thing that's probably not really highlighted enough is his second efforts too. That when he doesn't necessarily win the ball, he just doesn't give up.
Yeah.
He just keeps chasing like a madman, and that's a great asset. And the thing is, I think he was Buck said that he just didn't tackle hard enough or work hard enough. What was the previous quote? Around that, he didn't expect him to get a lot of possessions.
No, it was the possession. It was like they knew the defensive side of his game was fantastic, but the offensive game, they knew 10 possessions was basically it for him.
I think you look at him though, and the numbers at this stage aren't super important. It's just the work rate. It's a consistently high work rate.
He's one of these guys. If he's not going to get a lot of it offensively, then he's going to need to do a lot defensively. So it means a lot of tackling, a lot of pressure, acts, and stuff like that. But he was really good.
Yeah, not brilliant.
Darcy Cameron, should we sign him for 7 years on $1 million contract? So he had 26 possessions, so he was like one of the leading possession getters.
He's been really, really good the last couple of weeks. And I think he's just finding confidence in himself.
9 marks. He got it marked a few times toward the end, but 9 marks. That's the thing I've always complained about with Grundy, is he doesn't do enough of the around-the-ground high marks, and Cox does that too. So 9 marks, 26 possessions, playing that Grundy role of actually playing as a ruck rover, but also doing the ruck stuff of, taps, marks, and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, it doesn't get as many taps as Grundy, but
doesn't matter.
You worried more about the taps to advantage.
That's it.
So, what do they do with Grundy? Or what do you do if? The thing is, you can obviously.
How do you solve a problem like Grundy?
Obviously, you can bring Grundy back and you drop Cox, but that also relegates Cameron to the forward role.
Yeah, I mean, what else? If you make Cameron number 1 ruck, what job is Grundy doing?
I don't know. He's not a good enough high mark to be a forward. You can try playing him on the wing or something like that. I don't think he's got the endurance to play as a genuine winger. So, I don't know. You play him as the world's tallest half-forward flanker at Mark 2.
You do seriously wonder if he comes back early that it's going to disrupt things.
Well, I said before, even before Cameron was playing well, he shouldn't come back early simply because his knees are ruckman. He relies on, his leap and all that. But
when's he due back on the medical report thing? It's still about 6 weeks away or something, isn't it?
Who knows?
You're at the tail end of the season by then, would you?
I wouldn't.
Coming into finals, would you?
Well, if you're coming in the finals, they might say, well, we won him, he's in our best 22, but, if Cameron's doing really well.
There's going to be the inevitable injuries, so you got to factor that in as well, that he may come in through circumstance/need.
I criticised him when they signed him for 7 years. A number of people did. That's now looking like a fucking anchor. Because it just really... It actually threatens to derail him to the extent that you might get Cameron next year saying, I'm not getting my time here. Give me a trade.
Well, I mean, there was rumours in the media today, talk of trading, and I believe Rewalt ran with it on the couch. I haven't watched it. I only heard that third hand by throw him a text. And you could roll out the classic where there's smoke, there's fire, but it's obviously very early days for that. But the problem with trading him is what's his value going to be worth versus how much of that cap are we going to have to pay off for the next 7 years?
Well, that's the problem.
You would not let him go at the moment, and if he's on $1 million, no one's going to pick him up for much less than or more than 500k. You would think.
Well, our problem is the form is so bad since he signed that contract. You'd look at him and go, well, you're basically as good as a Max Lynch type who's just coming up and learning it, and we're going to get a lot more upside out of him than us paying you anything above 500 grand.
Mm.
Obviously, you could return the form, but your form's been shit for 2 years. So maybe the 2 years you're all Australian, you just fluked it.
Mm. But the problem is though, even if we offloaded him, we got a pick back, and we absorbed 500 of that contract into our cap. That's a full and reasonably exceptionally good player at that price range, you would think, that's been kept off the list.
Well, not at Collingwood. They've probably would have signed some fringe guy like Tom Phillips. I agree. It's ridiculous signing of someone. We talked about it, I think, a few years ago. If you had to get rid of like Moore, Grundy, or De Goey as sort of the big potential earners, I think we both agreed Grundy would be the one who goes. Interesting to see how they actually navigate that, because that's a fucking... That is
It's a minefield. I mean, and then we've talked about this before. The problem is when you've got someone of that marquee in terms of what you're paying and stuff, you can't drop them back. The optics to send them back to the VFL we'd be hung, drawn, and quartered by the media.
Oh well, that's happening anyway. Which brings us to Jack Ginnivan, that ducking fiend.
Is he the most evil person on the planet today?
I can't believe the amount of people jumping on his back from Kane Corns.
Well, literally they are jumping on his back.
Anthony
Hudson. Not that it matters.
And the thing that kills me, this is to you, Gary Lyon. I've twice heard Lyon say, he plays for this reason, they've shown the replay, that one was there. Doesn't that actually tell you you're getting it wrong?
I mean, the fucking thing is, like, the two of them that were just ignored, and you can clearly see from their camera angles, he's doing nothing other than bending over to get the ball, and he's torn down.
Yeah.
And every single time he's accused of sliding the knees in.
That's because Anthony Hudson, another paragon of intelligence and insight, he's the one that started it, going back to the round 2 Adelaide game. He's a master, In the first quarter, Ginnivan gets a free. Hudson's going, this six-game veteran is just the master at drawing frees. Selwood's been doing it for 15 years and 300 plus games, but Ginnivan's the one they decide from Hudson to Corns to Gary Lyon
to Watley
now.
Who's Watley barrack for?
Geelong.
Oh.
Lee Montagna. Fucking John Ralph Mouth. No other player who's drawn this sort of scrutiny. Why are they going after Ginnivan? It's actually now bordering on bullying. They fucking should be ashamed of themselves. And honestly, these people call themselves serious journalists. This is why I actually avoid all the football shows, because they're being I don't know what's the nice way to put it. There's so many fuckwits on them. There's like some good people. Like actually, I like Nick Rewalt, like Brad Johnson. There's a few there, but popularly, it's just fucking morons. It's morons everywhere. You cannot turn without seeing a moron somewhere. And all these idiots who fucking have time, like on television, have airtime, they all just become more exploitative and more fucking clickbait.
What does that paragon of stupidity Robbo said?
I can't watch him.
Is he actually able to form any sort of intelligible words these days?
He's quite well. It's just the Ginnivan thing. The Collingwood should actually. I mean, like McRae did a really good job going. We're going to sleep clarity on this. But Collingwood should actually come out and go, look, we're sick of this shit, and they should actually be video, or like they got all these games on video now. They should be cutting a package and going, why is that not a free? Did he duck there? Did he duck there? This is your commentary media, and predominantly, I'm not saying he doesn't go to draw frees at times, but predominantly, I just see him bending to get the ball and fucking getting collected in the head.
Yeah, see, I think that game was strangely umpired. I think we got the better of it in the first half, and the second half was some of the worst umpiring I think I've ever seen. Now we won, so we can quite rightly criticise it now. It's not sour grapes or anything like that. But I think the AFL came out today and said there was probably about 4 instances, including the Moore one, which I'm sure you'll cover shortly. I can see it there in your notes, that they got wrong. And you think, well, what if the fucking game went the other way and we lost? And you come out and said, well, we got 5 decisions wrong. One of them resulted in it was one of the worst free kicks I think I've ever seen, resulted to a goal right in front. If we lost that by a kick, would they have given us the points back, you think?
No. This is the thing too, with the Darcy Moore one, I always say, like, if you say that's illegal what he does, what's his alternative? And Nick Rewalt talked about it too. He said, well, his only alternative would have been to try and keep his feet in soccer at free, which was just not viable given the situation. There's footage that, Moore did not take his knees out. The guy has basically fallen over him.
Moore was first at the fucking ball, was already sliding down. The other guys fell onto him.
Nick Rewalt said he did, he did everything right.
And what shits me with that one, before you go on with what's here in your notes, it was the non-officiating umpire, 104 kilometres away, that overruled, well, not overruled, there was no decision made by the 2 umpires that were on top of it.
Well, this is the thing too, that happened several times, the non-officiating umpire overruled or interjected himself. Why is that umpire's view take precedence over the other guys? Can't the other guy go, no, you got it wrong, you're down there, shut the fuck up and get back there, and I'm going to say that was play on.
If there's a reason where there's something like that, where you don't have a consensus with the umpires, can't they just do this and review the incident?
Well, in a situation
and throw the ball up if you can't find a happy medium?
It happened a few times, but surely if it's resulted in a stoppage already, so if it wasn't paid a free, it would have been a behind the ball one. Surely the non-officiating umpire should have blown the whistle, ran down and said, this is what I saw, what did you see? And then they should discuss it, and then they should have like a consensus. The way they've set it up is the guy who's 100 metres away is always going to be overruling the closer umpires. That doesn't make sense. Because the closer umpire might turn around and go, no, I saw that properly, I got it, don't worry, fuck off. Like with when they have a goal review, and the umpire sometimes converts. Yeah, or even when it goes out of bounds on the full potential, they come and converse. So surely the guy who's 100 metres away should run in, go, this is what I saw, this is what I believe, and then the guy who was there should say, well, this is what I saw, you've got it wrong. If the guy who was there said, well, yeah, I was blinded because there was players in front of me, then I'm going to defer to your call, fine. But there's no reason that guy's view should always be the prevailing view, which is fucking ridiculous.
I want to bring up something else too that I just thought of then, because I was thinking about, surely you could even have a trigger in the, people that are reviewing the footage of the game could put the buzzer on and say, no, this is wrong, you need to review this one. But one thing stuck to come into my head with that is, why is it when the ARC reviews are, it was the spoil, I think, that Sidebottom did with the hand.
The really casual one, yeah.
Why is it that every fucking time you see these ARC reviews, there is 98 camera angles available, but when there's ours, it's one that fucking actually has the goalpost in the way, and all you can see is a sliver of beard hair, because he doesn't have any hair up top. And then they'll do the inconclusive evidence.
I don't know.
Yeah, surely you have... It's not that fucking expensive to whack cameras that shoot at different angles.
Well, you look at something like the cricket, where they were introducing third umpires and shit like that from years ago. And they were constantly evolving. They went from, we got this, then we got Hotspot, then we got Snicko, then we got, the projection of Hawkeye for LBW. They kept finding ways to bet, and they continue to do it. AFL's like, we're going to have a goal review. We introduced it 5 years ago, whatever it is, and the technology has not changed at all.
No, and you watch Formula One these days. They have a fucking motorised drone the size of a wasp bumhole carrying an ultra high definition camera that just flicks around and does everything. And they have cameras in the ear hole of the drivers, all showing these pristine images. And what's more, when you watch it back on KO, it doesn't fucking stutter. It doesn't repeat back 10 seconds of footage and start it all over again. The AFL, the way that they do their technology and present their technology is substandard compared to the rest of the way it's handled by sporting organisations around the world. You don't see any of these issues anywhere else. No. Yeah, we just, I don't know whether they just don't spend the money or they're incapable of understanding it or a combination of all. It's frustrating. Because if you're going to start using video footage to determine outcomes, Make it fucking conclusive what the outcome is. Not have fucking block views or I can't see it because, or sit there and rewind a fucking thing that shows the Zapruder footage of Kennedy had more frames of content in it than the stuff we see. Oh, look, a ball. And there's a ball 4 metres away. And then another ball. Did it get touched? Did it deviate in its path?
Well,
You got that Hawkeye in fucking tennis that can see the pubic hairs on a tennis ball move in the wind when it hits a line.
well, you think that hotspot would be really helpful because you'd see if someone touched a ball, there'd be a mark on it or some shit as it goes past.
Snicko.
Oh, it's ridiculous. And going back to the Darcy Moore one, I always say, like, what's the alternative? So if he doesn't do that, what alternative does he have? And you're saying in that situation, he couldn't do what he did.
I didn't say it.
Yeah, you did. You and Mark Robinson. So what was his alternative? Is just to hold back. And that's fucking ridiculous. The player always needs to have a viable option. So if you can't do that...
What would he have known? He's running forward, as far as he's concerned, with his view, and I'm sure his view's better than your average AFL camera, is that I have no player in front of me. So I'm this far away, I'm going to go in and just slide and maybe push it across.
There's too many...
Is he supposed to have some rear vision mirrors mounted on his shoulders? Is he supposed to turn around and think, it's all clear now for me to do this in the heat of the moment?
Well, there's too many directives which are now impacting the player going for the ball. So in that situation, Moore has to go, I'm not allowed to go for the ball. I've got to hold back because I might take this guy's legs out, which is fucking ridiculous. So in that situation, that would just lead to a certain goal. That's totally undermining the spirit of the game, which is win the fucking ball. Win the ball and, defend at all costs.
A lot of it was just the return of free kick Hawthorn.
Yeah, it was. Which actually brings me up to something else. Chad Wingard, this really pissed me off. So
Chump Wingard.
he took the mark. Howe went into him a little bit late. Wingard went down.
He was unconscious, wasn't
He
he?
looked like he was dead, and there's a bit of a
I
melee.
saw a priest administering the last rites.
He was that fucked up, and then suddenly just bounces up, gives it to the Collingwood cheer squad, and kicks a goal. This thing about staging is huge. No one says, hey, what sort of fucking act was that to fake injury to that extent, and then you just bounced up and ran on. And no one's mentioned it in the fucking media.
Did Matanya, Lyon, Watley, Robbo, did they all laugh? Did they think that was just just the act of a larrikin? That was funny?
I was told by someone that they were laughing on it on fucking whatever shit radio station they're on.
Dribble M?
Probably.
Did you see that footage of Montagna having a bit of a sook at the end of the game?
No.
Threw his microphone up there. I'm not fucking talking about this anymore.
Really?
These guys are going to win. Oh, it was a fair bit of sookiness by the looks of things. It's well worth a look. Look it up on that Twitter thing that's going around. Apparently it's popular.
Well, that brings me to Dwayne Russell. Was he wearing the Hawthorn jumper while he was commentating?
Fuck me. Seriously. Was he wearing pants every time John Newcombe got the ball? I heard a fly get undone a few times. How much of a flog is this bloke? Seriously. I think I've had years of I can't tolerate his commentary. I have absolutely no comprehension whatsoever how he holds down a job. He is fucking useless at what he does. But to openly barrack for fucking the opposition team was an embarrassment. But I don't think he'd actually have the mental prowess to process that, though. Oh. He probably thinks he does a great job. But he was openly barracking for Hawthorn. He's fucking gung-ho approach to every time Hawthorn got a possession, trying to will them across the line, calling out frees. It was just fucking biased to the 10th degree.
Oh, it's horrible. I've had a number of people mention how bad he's commentating.
Well, which week?
Yeah.
Can you narrow it down?
Getting back to the football, Jordan Goey, this fug, he just continues to play okay.
I saw another message before that there's Dusty Petrarca, Geordie, and somebody that over the last 2 years, the only 3 or 4 players that are averaging 20 possessions and 2 goals a game or something. So he's sitting in
elite company.
Fairly elite company, and still is probably one of the most hated people on the planet.
Well, that goal he kicked at a pivotal time when it was wet from about 55.
Brilliant. In the wet, if you don't mind, umpire.
Yep.
That was huge.
Yeah, it was an awesome goal, and he gets judged by a really high standard, and then when he doesn't meet that standard, they all sort of go, this is why he's shit, or this is why he's a mediocre player, and it's just insane. It's like, the one thing as a midfielder is he doesn't do as many flashy things as when he's a forward. You can't, but it's like they're expecting him to be as flashy as a midfielder as he is as a forward, and when that's not happening, they go, oh, well, he mustn't be as good. And, his role in our last 3 wins has just been integral to the performance.
I did see this week that the media are running with stories that he's announced that he wants to stay at Collingwood and his management wants him to stay at Collingwood. The club hasn't said anything yet, to the best of our knowledge. I think this is still very much a watch this space. Would we be that stupid to trade him at the end of the year? I think he's doing too much. He almost couldn't do it now.
That's a rhetorical question, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we sign up everybody else in 10 minutes. I mean, obviously he's going to demand the sort of dollars that we're throwing away.
I think that's the big problem. Though, is at the moment, you want to re-sign him, but his form is good. But his management's probably saying, look, you can play better and then we get you a better deal. Whereas Collingwood's saying, you're not reaching that level. This is what we're going to offer you. So I think they're both hedging their bets as to...
But surely, I mean, I don't know how it works. Whether you set like a lower salary, but then you can ramp up the performance-based incentives. But I think the problem with that is whatever you offer as potential, it becomes what your cap limit is.
Do you really want the triggers in our salary cap management?
No, I don't want anyone near our salary cap management.
And another guy who had a relatively quiet game, Nick Dacos.
Do you think he went out there after all the hype with John Newcombe and said, I'm going to go and stick it up this bloke? Well, metaphorically speaking.
Well, John Newcombe was great in the second half, but...
Oh, no, and he's a great player, but I thought Nick was superb throughout the whole game.
Yeah, he was. He was clean.
Just the constant driving of the ball forward, no matter what.
He had about 800 metres gained, which usually players get about 500 metres. So he really...
Oh, yeah, it was super impressive. And I probably thought at one stage he was capable of kicking a goal, but he kicked it in short.
Yeah. I
think he should have almost had a shot. But that game, how many games he played? 148 or something?
Yeah, 12.
It's ridiculous, really. And you're seeing somebody... at a level already where players in their 5th and 6th year are probably aspiring to be in terms of consistency. He's not, setting the world on fire or anything, and nor would you expect him to be, but he's just absolutely solid. Probably pretty much every week so far. He probably had 1 or 2 quiet outings, but that game on Sunday was something else.
Well, his quiet outings are still about 20 possessions, but yeah, Sunday he was clean. He kept driving the ball forward. He was calming traffic. There was a couple of times he did his little blind turns.
His awareness is phenomenal.
And he's carrying an ankle injury too. So
he's carrying half a side.
Yeah, so you'd have about 72 possessions if that wasn't the case. And poor Reef McInnes does his shoulder, just said, I'm not going to miss out on this club.
I think he dislocated it when he took that one-handed spectacular grab.
Yeah, probably.
He had a very quiet one. But that mark was awesome.
I don't think he's actually a forward in that regard, and he's probably more of a midfielder at the moment. He's a little bit lean, but I'm not going to see him again this year. So,
well, didn't he have glandular or something last year? Was he?
Oh, I don't know. He probably had a shot. He had a glandular-related finger injury.
Don't they all? Oh, there was something that kept him down a little bit last year.
Buckley?
Yeah. I think kept us all down. Look, the shoulder thing, that's probably season over for him, isn't it, the way it works at Collingwood? Yeah. Because Kruger popped his shoulder and popped it back in, and that was season ending for him.
Well, they brought him back, and they said, as long as you don't do it again, which is a funny thing at Collingwood.
Don't do it again. Yeah. I think you'll be all right. But his was it looked pretty bad, the dislocation. It clearly was hanging low, so they would have popped that back in, obviously. But
well, I saw a post-game, Jack Magnan was talking to him, and it's just, obviously Jack was going, well, this is what it is, and this is what you'll be facing, and so he was consoling him, which was nice to see in a way, but it's like, how many shoulders they done? Those two, Kruger, Roughhead, Elliott. I think that's it for the shoulders, and that's like 5.
What do you mean that's it? Why would you make a statement like that? That's it for this week.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't think there's any others, but I'm probably wrong. Any final thoughts about this game?
No, other than the fact again that I'm loving the fact that they just don't. When they're in the position to win, like there was a couple of games like the Dogs one that were a debacle, but you're going to get that. You're going to have that up and down roller coaster ride at the moment, but. I'm loving the resilience, as I said. You don't look at those moments where they're overrun and think that that's it. You know, we probably in the last year or so would have got to that position and then just completely stopped. The fact that they just keep digging deep and finding something, I think that's it. As a not as a metric for winning, but as a motivator to win, that self-belief and self-confidence is clearly building there, and I think it augurs well for the future.
Yeah, I think just at the moment, my concern is they have given up so many 5-goal leads. You know, they did it against
A
Kill,
lot of games are very momentum-driven, though, these days,
but my problem with the 5-goal surrendering the lead is just those times they're not even touching the ball. It just really looks like they, I don't know what, lose cohesion or whatever. And then you generally throw Pendlebury into the middle, and then Pendlebury, the goalie, the bigger bodies, Adams, they start to win the ball back. So my concern is not so much you surrender the 5-goal leads, which is bad enough in itself, but when it starts happening, they don't seem to be able to arrest it and kick that one that's just going to go, yeah, we've stopped your momentum, you kicked 2 goals, we've kicked 1, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, what was Hawthorn's biggest lead? I think it was
10 points.
10 points or something. Yeah, so it wasn't too bad. Nothing looked insurmountable. I mean, probably when it started really pissing down, you thought that's really going to start making it difficult. But yeah, they did what was required.
I just want to watch a game where like I go, we're 5 goals up, and it's like, well, we won by 7, or we're 5 goals up, and it just stayed. You know those games where, like the Dogs game, you know, they got that lead early, and then that was pretty much the lead the whole game. You know, we brought it in a little bit, they pushed it back out. So I just want to be able to control the tempo.
And Dwayne Russell reminded us of it 48,000 times during the game when he was barracking for his favourite team in the entire history of the competition, that they were 41 points down against Carlton and got back and lost by a point. It's not unusual at the moment to have these sides have these massive...
Well, Carlton's another one though that surrenders his lead, so...
Yeah, but yeah, it happens. So, look, I'm glad that...
look who's lumped us in with Carlton. Okay, fine.
I'm just glad that we didn't roll over.
I'm glad too. I mean, it took Buckley about 7 years and about 28 games to beat Hawthorn. So...
McRae's done it twice in a year.
In 1 year.
And I'm counting that practice match.
Yeah.
That was a legitimate game. Why didn't we get 4 points for it?
We should have. I guess Dwayne Russell made the AFL boycott the points. Playing Melbourne, Queen's birthday, traditional Queen's birthday. Melbourne's coming off 2 losses.
Isn't that perfectly timed?
So they're going for 3 in a row. We could do that. We're going to lose McInnes. Elliott was out with illness, so you'd imagine he'd come back.
In. Oh, that's going to be a strong side.
Yeah, and the 3 weeks that we sort of were looking, you know, a little worse, that was when we lost a couple of the more senior players. So again, it shows that balance that we require. Melbourne's obviously the team to beat.
The benchmark.
The benchmark still. Although Fremantle's looking good too, but we beat them, so...
That's it. I can't see how we lose the flag from here.
So, Melbourne, we approached this game with the right mindset, and then, who knows? Are you surprised by being in the...
If you put your mind to anything, you can... I'll get that quite wrong.
That's close enough, George McFly.
Yeah, well, that's it. Same person.
Yeah.
He should use that this week. You can accomplish anything. You put your mind... Whatever. You know the one. Look it up.
It still took him like 30 years to write his first novel, though. Yeah. So, you're surprised by us being in the final eight? Because, like, I had us bottom 6, and I'm thinking, okay, we're a little bit better than that.
Yeah, you're embarrassing each week how little faith you had in them.
Yeah.
No, I am surprised, albeit pleasantly.
Oh, look,
I still think it fucks up the good picks that we really need, but you know what? Winning's good as well.
Yeah, the thing I would have liked to see probably a bit more is investment a little bit more in the youth. The Hoskin Elliots could go and you play, you know, McRae for a month, or you play Poulter for a month, because they're the guys who are going to have to take over. And again, it should be really form based. So I don't know why Hoskin Elliott warrants his selection every week.
Don't ask me.
I don't think it was really fair that Poulter sort of came up for a couple of weeks and then was just dropped. I thought give him a bit of a run. Callum Brown's another one in terms of, I would have thought you would have played Poulter and Nat McRae before him. I don't know for McRae if it was like, well, look, this is your year, make or break. So I'm going to give you a chance.
Last week, the Poulter is the one that surprised me because he was basically a cornerstone of the young players last year.
Oh, he was the best of the young players.
And I think he was well and truly earning his spot each week. It's an interesting fall. I wouldn't say it's an amazing fall from grace, but it's an interesting one.
Well, it'd be interesting what their metric is behind closed doors. Why?
Oh, that's clearly the.
I mean, you look at someone like Henry too, because he was in and out too. So they obviously looked at him and said, you got to be more defensive. This is why you're getting dropped. But now he's compensating by kicking more goals. So obviously they're looking to go, if you're not going to do this much of this, you need to do that much of that. But there must be some KPIs they have for each player and each young player. This is what you got to do to warrant your spot. But then again, how does that fit with someone like Hoskin Elliott, who's not...
Hoskin, the friendly ghost.
Yeah, you know, and like we've always said, I always liked Hoskin Elliott, but you're not getting enough return from him.
No, and that's the problem. It's not a hate campaign or anything like that. There was a bloke that I really thought would have come on. He's in the top 5. But the simple fact remains he's just not doing enough each week.
Well,
it's
I will
amazing
say
he
though
holds his spot.
there's a few times in this game where I don't want to sort of condemn him, but he didn't put his body in front of the ball. No. It was like he didn't want to get the crunch. You know, so, and that's fine because you get outside players and all that. But in those weak games, sometimes you just need to stand the ground and get hit. So he's one I would have thought they would have said, let's give some games to Poll. The same with Callum Brown. I wouldn't have played him until round 12 this year because I reckon his confidence was shot. And I would have went with McRae or something. Just said, you know, Finley, you're going to get a month at this. It's your spot to make. And if he didn't perform after it, I'm not writing him off, but like he's one where I haven't really seen a lot of glimpses for the future. Whereas Polte, you saw it go, yeah, he's got something. Henry last year, he's still doing little bits of pieces. He's got something special. Whether he goes further with that, you don't know. McRae's one of these guys I'm looking and going, I don't see what it is at the moment. Now, he might play 25, 30 games and it just clicks through him and goes bang. But I would have liked for them to give him a prolonged run and go just, you know, we want you to get 20 possessions and all that. So I would have rather they played a few more of the younger players this year as an investment in the future, given what's going to happen in the next couple of years. You're going to have that top end just go all at once, pretty much. So, but against Melbourne?
I think it'll be a close one. It'll be D's by 55 points.
Oh, I think it'll be Melbourne by 60 points. It'll be interesting to see how they come out after the 2 losses. Typically, they'll lift for us because everyone does. We're a grand final for everyone. Melbourne's actually played one now, so they know what it feels like.
This used to be their grand final. They've got practical experience.
Yeah. Final question. How do we lose to West Coast?
Oh, fuck. What are they averaging now? About 200-point losses?
No, they lost by about 30 the other week, but like against Adelaide.
Was that a sympathy loss?
It was against Adelaide, so that's worth about 200
I saw a few Adelaide players go, oh, go on, give him a kick. Go on, let him kick it.
Jaden Stevenson also struggling in the North Melbourne VFL defensively. Did Collingwood get that right after you ripped into him and started an EGM to spill the ball because they got rid of your favourite player?
I think with the right support around him, and if he stayed with us, he wouldn't be this player he is now.
No, but it's almost like what's gone wrong with him? I don't know.
You're not suggesting anything, are you?
No. Kieran Ichiban. That's the taste of the future.
An itchy bum.
Final thoughts?
I can barely have a thought, not a final one.
All right, cool. So that's
no, I'm looking forward to seeing what we have. However, I'm at some point again with the roller coaster ride, we're gonna have an absolute rotter.
But we'll save that for this. We'll save that for North Melbourne.
I think there's 2 factors here. It's the D's aren't going to be easy to beat. We're probably due for a quiet one. The following week is the bye, is it?
Yeah, I could lose that.
Yeah, we probably win that one. The thing is, we have about 6 or 7 very winnable games against.
So you think we should win the flag?
I'd hate to say shit opposition. Let's say ordinary opposition at the moment. But sides like that will lift towards the tail end of the season, as we appear to be doing. We could almost switch off for this one and set ourselves to cement a potential finals berth by winning 6 or 7 of those games towards the end of the year. We play the D's again, which I think's the biggest challenge out of everything. But other than that, there's a lot of gettable sides. We play Carlton again for comedy reasons. But yeah, I do wonder whether we might just go quiet this week. I think Fly's going to have him over for a barbecue or something during the bye, and then we relaunch into the second half of the season.
I wasn't overawed by some of his press conferences earlier in the season, but the last few I've really liked.
Oh, good.
Where, after we beat Carlton, he just said, I've always loved winning. And I was like, oh, fuck, good, Just, there's nothing wrong with embracing, hey, I want to win. The Ginnivan stuff that he said I thought was really good. I know with the Hawthorn game, he spoke to the players and he told them, he goes, Hawthorn's a proud club, so they'll want to bounce back after losing to Gold Coast, getting smashed. So this sort of message is it's like, oh, cool, you actually have your finger on the pulse of what needs to be said. It's not just some corporate metric of we've got to do this many, hardball gets and contested possession, all that sort of shit. He's actually speaking to each situation, which is really, really good. Talking a little bit emotionally, because
I noticed in the team meetings he's also been doing the Obi-Wan hand. You won't lose this game.
I hear he's listening to a 10-year-old Leia. Anyway, that's it from us.
That's it from him.
Yep, we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week, hopefully under happier circumstances.
Later.